My husband threw the DNA test on the dining table and screamed, "I knew he wasn't mine. Get out of my house." I looked at the paper, looked at him, and said, "You rewrite. He isn't yours." I picked up the phone, called my lawyer, and broke the news that would destroy the inheritance he thought he had guaranteed. I looked at the DNA test results showing 0% paternity match and felt nothing but relief. My husband Mark stood there, red-faced and triumphant, thinking he'd caught me in an affair. He had no idea what was actually coming. We'd been married for 8 years when our son Tommy was born. Mark's family had money his father owned, 3 commercial properties worth approximately $4.2 million. The inheritance was split between Mark and his brother, but there was a catch. Only legitimate grandchildren would receive the $500,000 education trust. Mark's brother was child-free, so Tommy was set to inherit everything. For 6 years, Mark lorded this over me. Every argument ended with my son will never want for anything. He controlled our finances completely, giving me a $200 weekly allowance while he bought a $60,000 Tesla. He refused marriage counseling 4 times, saying I should be grateful for the security he provided. Then came the family medical history form for Tommy's school. They asked about genetic conditions. Mark's family had a history of factor V Leiden, a blood clotting disorder. ID mentioned testing Tommy twice before, but Mark refused, calling it expensive paranoia. I took Tommy myself. Cost me $350 ID saved from my allowance over 5 months. The results came back negative for factor V, but they included something else, a note from the genetic counselor suggesting parental confirmation testing due to unexpected markers. I knew exactly what that meant. See, ID used a sperm donor. Mark had severe fertility issues he'd hidden from me before marriage. I found the medical records 3 years in, buried in his desk. He had a sperm count of less than 1 million per milliliter, when normal is 15 million or above. The chances of natural conception were nearly 0. When I confronted him back then, he admitted he'd known since age 24. He begged me to try IVF, promised he'd pay for everything. I agreed, but he refused 7 times to actually schedule it, always finding excuses. Meanwhile, I was 34 and time was running out, so I went to a fertility clinic alone. Used my own money from a small inheritance. My grandmother left me $12,000. I chose a donor with similar features to Mark. I never told him, because I knew he'd rather have no child than one that wasn't genetically his, even though he desperately wanted that inheritance to stay in the family. Mark must have gotten suspicious somehow and ordered his own DNA test. And now here we were. "You cheated on me," he shouted. "My lawyer will destroy you. You get nothing. Call your lawyer," I said calmly. "But call your father first." His face went pale. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone and showed him the fertility clinic receipt from 7 years ago. The donor agreement. The timeline that proved ID conceived during a month he was traveling for work when natural conception would have been impossible anyway given his condition. "Tommy isn't biologically yours," I said, "which means he's not your father's legitimate grandchild, which means no inheritance, no trust fund." I watched it hit him. His brother was 52 and had a vasectomy at 30. There would be no other grandchildren. Mark's father had specifically written the will to keep the money in the bloodline. "The family lawyers will have questions," I continued. "Genetic testing questions. Questions about why you never mentioned your fertility issues to your father. Questions about whether you committed fraud by representing Tommy as your biological son." Mark's mother had witnessed the birth certificate signing. His father had 4 different photos of Tommy in his office, all labeled "my grandson." Within 3 weeks, Mark's father amended his will. The education trust was dissolved. The property inheritance was redirected to a charitable foundation. Mark got a flat $100,000, same as his brother. Mark moved out 6 days after the new will was finalized. He pays $100 monthly in child support. He fought it, but the judge ruled he'd illegally claimed paternity and supported Tommy for 6 years. Tommy asks about Grandpa sometimes. I tell him the truth. Some families are built differently. Was I wrong to destroy his inheritance by keeping my secret?